You are watching this right now because something happened that nobody in the history of professional basketball has ever dared to do. A player, an active, current, living and breathing NBA player, walked onto a live television set in front of millions of viewers and got in the face of a 7-foot, 325-pound Hall of Famer who just happens to be one of the most powerful voices in all of sports media. Security guards had to physically separate them. The producers almost cut the feed. The studio went completely silent, and the entire sports world lost its mind in the span of about 90 seconds. We are talking about LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal, two of the greatest basketball players who have ever lived. Two men who were once teammates, once friends, two men who shared locker rooms and late-night flights and championship dreams. And they nearly came to blows on national television during the 2025-26 NBA season. But here is what nobody is telling you. That confrontation was not random. It was not a one-time blow-up. It was the explosion at the end of a fuse that had been burning for months, if not years. And what it exposed goes so much deeper than just two legends beefing. It exposed a war that is quietly tearing the NBA world apart. A war between the old guard who built this league and the new generation who inherited it. Today, we are going to take you inside every detail of that confrontation. We are going to walk you through the full timeline, the leaked comments, the behind-the-scenes tension, the moments that most channels are too afraid to cover. And we are going to tell you what it means for LeBron James right now, today, in May 2026, as he stands at the most uncertain crossroads of his entire legendary career. This story is bigger than basketball, and you need to hear all of it. And before we go any further, if you want content like this that digs deeper than everybody else, smashes that subscribe button right now and hit the bell icon so you never miss a single video. Let's go. To understand how two of basketball's biggest names ended up face to face with security rushing in between them, you have to go back and understand what the NBA media landscape looks like today. When Inside the NBA moved from TNT to ESPN for the 2025-26 season, it did not just bring along the famous desk and the funny moments and Charles Barkley's wild takes. It brought along a platform that is even larger than before. ESPN reaches more households, more eyes, more clicks, more viral moments. And that means Shaquille O'Neal, already one of the loudest voices in sports media, suddenly had an even bigger megaphone in front of him. And Shaq, being Shaq, was not about to whisper into it. The criticism of LeBron James had been building for the entire season, starting even before it began. When LeBron sat out training camp and the opening 14 games of the 2025-26 season due to sciatica, a nerve issue affecting his lower back and the right side of his body, the media machine turned on him in a way that was brutal even by NBA standards. He had never missed the start of a season in 23 years. He said it himself, with genuine pain in his voice. Never in his life since he started playing basketball had he ever not started a season. Think about what that means. 22 years of iron consistency. 22 years of showing up. And the moment his body forced him to sit down, the analysts started sharpening their knives. Shaquille O'Neal, who is now broadcasting those very games on ESPN, had some particularly pointed commentary. He talked about LeBron being a complementary player now. He questioned whether LeBron could still be the guy when it mattered most. He suggested, very publicly, that LeBron's time as the centerpiece of any team had come and gone. And to most people watching at home, those might have sounded like reasonable, even fair takes from a former superstar. But to LeBron James, who has spent 23 years being called not just a player but the player, hearing that word complementary from an old teammate on national television hit differently. It hit like a shot to the heart. The tension between LeBron and the media establishment was not new in the 2025-26 season, but it had reached a boiling point that nobody could ignore. Go back to March 2025, during a Lakers game against the New York Knicks. Stephen A. Smith had spent weeks criticizing Bronny James, LeBron's son and the Lakers' rookie guard, saying publicly that Bronny belonged in the G League rather than on an NBA roster. For any father, that kind of attack, not just on a player but on your own child, lands differently than regular sports criticism. And LeBron, who has always been the most deliberate, the most calculated, the most image-conscious superstar of his generation, did something almost nobody expected. He walked directly over to Stephen A. Smith on the courtside and confronted him face to face. The cameras caught it. Social media erupted. Stephen A. later described the moment in detail, saying it felt surreal to wake up and find the video everywhere. He tried to play the diplomatic card at first, acknowledging that what he had witnessed was a father protecting his son, not just a player challenging an analyst. But over a year later, on Logan Paul's podcast, the diplomatic mask came off. Stephen A. admitted that he felt it was deeply disrespectful, that he felt the confrontation was unfair, and that the implication that he had gone after Bronny just to get at LeBron had genuinely angered him. He said plainly that LeBron's belief that he did not see him as the GOAT was what was really driving the whole narrative. That exchange with Stephen A. Smith set a precedent that nobody in NBA media was prepared for. LeBron James, the most polished, most controlled brand in professional sports, had shown the world that he was willing to cross that line between player and media personality. And once you cross that line, there is no going back. Every analyst in the league took notice. And Shaquille O'Neal was watching very closely. What made the Shaq situation so layered, so complicated, so impossible to reduce to a simple beef, was the history. These were not strangers talking trash on social media. These were men who had shared something real. LeBron and Shaq played against each other 19 times over the course of their careers. Shaq holds a 12-7 winning record in those matchups. When LeBron entered the league in 2003 as the most hyped rookie in the history of basketball, Shaq was already a 3-time champion and the most physically dominant force the center position had ever seen. Their relationship was built on genuine mutual respect. Shaq praised the young LeBron. LeBron admired Shaq's power and his presence. And then, in 2009, they became teammates. Shaq signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers in what everyone billed as the super team that would finally get LeBron his first championship. It did not work out that way. Cleveland was eliminated in the second round of the playoffs, and Shaq moved on the following season. But the two men stayed on good terms. Or at least, that is what everyone believed. Because by 2025, the dynamic had shifted completely. Shaq was a media titan with a massive platform and a clear set of opinions about how the modern NBA compared to his era. And his central complaint, the one he kept hammering on podcast after podcast and broadcast after broadcast, was that today's players, and LeBron specifically, were only considered great because the league had become soft. He put it in language that left no room for interpretation. He said that certain things certain players were getting credit for, he would never give them the same props. Call it hate if you want, he said. He did not care. For a competitor like LeBron James, who has spent his entire career using every word of criticism as rocket fuel, those comments were not just provocative. They were a declaration of war. And the war escalated quickly. Shaq doubled down on his positions, defending himself and Charles Barkley against critics like Lakers head coach J.J. Redick, who had publicly argued that the way Shaq and Barkley talked about the product was hurting the game. Load management debates, player sensitivity debates, legacy debates, the GOAT debate. In a CBS Sports interview, Shaq made his position on the GOAT conversation crystal clear, arguing that all great players should be evaluated within their position and era, refusing to simply crown LeBron James as the greatest of all time. Many people read that as a deliberate shot. Many people were probably right to read it that way. LeBron noticed. There were reports that Shaq actually confronted LeBron directly over comments LeBron had allegedly made about past legends like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson, suggesting that the old school game was softer than the modern era. The confrontations were happening on multiple platforms simultaneously. Shaq through his ESPN appearances and his podcast, LeBron through his own interviews, his social media presence, and the court of public opinion that he has always controlled better than almost anyone. Kendrick Perkins, once one of LeBron's most vocal supporters, even began to distance himself, jumping into the conversation to say that LeBron's words were not always gospel and that today's players, in his view, were far too sensitive. Even former teammates were starting to peel away. And through all of it, the pressure was building towards something that the NBA world had never seen before. The 2025-26 Lakers season was supposed to be a celebration. The team had pulled off what many called one of the most stunning trades in recent NBA history, landing Luka Doncic from Dallas. Doncic was posting monster numbers: 34.7 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 8.8 assists, and was already being described as the league's most dangerous offensive weapon. Austin Reeves was emerging as a legitimate third option. And LeBron James, despite being 41 years old and dealing with the sciatica that had sidelined him to open the year, was still averaging nearly 21 points per game across 60 appearances. He was still elite. He was still LeBron. But the narrative being built around him in the media had nothing to do with what he was still accomplishing. It was entirely focused on what he could no longer do. And Shaquille O'Neal, broadcasting on ESPN every week, was among the loudest voices shaping that narrative. Then came the playoffs, and everything fell apart in the cruelest possible way. On April 2nd, in a loss to the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder, both Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves went down with significant injuries. Doncic suffered a grade 2 hamstring strain. Reeves was battling a grade 2 oblique strain. Just like that, the team that was supposed to be LeBron's final great run at a championship was suddenly LeBron and a bunch of role players. The very scenario that Shaq had been publicly questioning LeBron's ability to handle had arrived. And Shaq did not miss the moment. Before Game 1 of the first-round series against the Houston Rockets, themselves playing without Kevin Durant, who had a knee contusion, Shaq delivered his warning on ESPN. The Lakers had to win this game, and the question was who was going to be the guy for them, because they could not forget that LeBron James was 41 years old. Every single word felt like a needle. Every single word was designed to remind the world that the king was aging. And yet LeBron answered. He carried that team through the first round. He led them to an upset victory. He proved again that the fire was still burning. But carrying a depleted squad against the defending champions Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round was simply a bridge too far. The Thunder swept the Lakers in 4 games, and the media showed absolutely no mercy. The fallout from the sweep was immediate and vicious. Rob Parker, one of the loudest voices in the game, declared publicly that LeBron had nothing left in the tank and urged him to retire. Analysts who had spent years debating his GOAT credentials suddenly shifted to debating whether he was even worth a roster spot anymore. ESPN's Dave McMenamin reported that Laker officials had privately speculated about what LeBron James was actually worth on the market without the famous name on the back of his jersey. And the number they arrived at was well below the maximum salary he had been earning. Think about that for a moment. The all-time leading scorer, a 4-time champion, a man who had just carried a broken roster deep into the playoffs at age 41. And the people running his own franchise were quietly questioning what he was actually worth. The narrative had shifted completely. From king to bargain, from cornerstone to question mark. And standing behind that narrative, amplifying it, shaping it, was Shaquille O'Neal. It was that combination, the public commentary, the national platform, the sense that an old friend and teammate was leading the charge against his legacy, that finally pushed LeBron James past the point of restraint. The explosion happened on live television. LeBron James walked directly onto the ESPN set while cameras were rolling. Producers expected a normal segment. They got a moment that stopped the entire sports world. Security guards had to physically intervene between 2 giants of the game. Ernie Johnson, who has hosted the show since 1990 and has seen absolutely everything in 3+ decades of broadcasting, could not hide the shock on his face. The clip went viral within minutes. Every major outlet made it their lead story. Every talk show, every podcast, every comment section on the internet was consumed by one question. What does this mean? Here is the breaking news that nobody wants to say out loud. This confrontation is happening in the same week that LeBron James' entire future hangs in the air like a question with no answer. Right now, in May 2026, LeBron James is officially a free agent. His 2-year, $101 million contract with the Los Angeles Lakers has expired. And according to multiple league sources, he is genuinely, sincerely unsure about whether he even wants to keep playing. The Athletic's Dan Woik reported just days ago that a final decision is not believed to be imminent, and that league sources continue to say James is sincerely unsure about whether he wants to continue. The options in front of him are extraordinary but complicated. A return to the Lakers is possible, but the financial reality of the NBA's salary cap means they cannot offer him anything close to the $52.6 million he earned last season. The Lakers already owe Luka Doncic $49.8 million, and Austin Reeves is seeking a 5-year maximum deal worth $241 million this offseason. There is simply no room for 3 maximum contracts. The Golden State Warriors have reportedly maintained a long-standing interest in bringing LeBron to Northern California, where he would play alongside his longtime rival and fellow icon Stephen Curry in what would be the ultimate late-career super team. But the Warriors are severely limited financially in what they can actually offer. The Cleveland Cavaliers, where LeBron was born as a basketball player, where he won that historic 2016 championship, where he will always be royalty, are reportedly warming to the idea of a third reunion. If the two sides could work out a sign-and trade, there might even be a way to get LeBron significant money, with center Jarrett Allen potentially heading to Los Angeles in return. And then there are darker possibilities. Industry insider Mark Stein reported that 2 well-placed league observers told him it is more likely that LeBron plays just 1 more season before retiring, rather than multiple additional seasons. And retirement itself, something LeBron has called a mystery, cannot be ruled out. He has already earned more than $480 million in conventional basketball contracts alone. He owes the game nothing. So let us put this all together, because the picture is bigger than most people are drawing it. LeBron James is 41 years old. He is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history with 42,975 points at the 2026 All-Star break. He has 4 championships. He has played 23 seasons. He averaged 20.9 points, 7.2 assists, and 6.1 rebounds per game this past year on 51.5% shooting from the field. He led a team missing its top 2 stars past the first round of the playoffs. He did all of that. And still, the loudest narrative surrounding him was about decline, about limits, about an end. And the man leading that narrative, at least in LeBron's eyes, was his old teammate, his former friend, the man who was supposed to understand better than anyone what it takes to compete at the highest level. That is why the confrontation happened. It was not about one comment, one broadcast, one podcast clip. It was about 2 years of accumulated pressure, public criticism from someone who was supposed to be on your side, and the feeling, real or not, that the media machine was conspiring to write your final chapter for you before you were ready to let them write it. Shaq, to his credit, has also shown complicated feelings about the whole situation. Even in the middle of all the conflict, he has spoken about LeBron with genuine admiration. When Skip Bayless used a Dwayne Wade interview to attack LeBron, it was Shaq who actually defended him, telling Bayless to let it go and pointing out that he and LeBron carried each other as teammates. Shaq even predicted that LeBron would set up a farewell tour and continue playing another 2 years, adding more distance to his already untouchable scoring record. So was Shaq trying to take LeBron down? Or was he a media analyst doing his job, and LeBron simply could not handle honest analysis anymore? The answer is probably both. And the clash on the ESPN set did not resolve that question. It only made it louder. What that confrontation really exposed was the fracture at the center of sports media in 2026. The legends who built the NBA, the guys who won championships in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, are now the ones being paid to evaluate the players who run the league today. And the comments they make, even when they are meant to be legitimate analysis, carry a weight and a sting that comments from regular media figures simply do not carry. When Shaq tells the world that LeBron is now a complementary player, it is not the same as some random analyst saying it. It is coming from a man who played center for the most dominant team of the early 2000s, a man who knows what elite looks like from the inside, a man who was LeBron's teammate. That gives the criticism a credibility and a sharpness that LeBron cannot just brush off. And LeBron, who has always operated with a level of strategic media awareness that most athletes never develop, felt the danger of that narrative. He felt it threatening to define his final act. And so he refused to let it happen quietly. LeBron himself has talked about the antagonizers who pop up throughout a competitive journey, describing them not as enemies exactly, but as necessary obstacles on the road to whatever comes next. That is how he has framed it publicly. But in private, behind the composure and the calculated statements, something different was building all season long. And it finally came out on that ESPN set, in front of the cameras, in front of the world, in a moment that nobody will forget anytime soon. Here is where things stand today, right now, in the immediate aftermath of everything. The Oklahoma City Thunder swept the Lakers and are playing on in the Western Conference Finals against the San Antonio Spurs. The NBA world is in the middle of its most chaotic offseason in years. Giannis Antetokounmpo is reportedly seeking a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, which means the Warriors and Cavaliers who are chasing LeBron are also potentially in play for the Greek Freak, which changes everything. LeBron James is sitting at home, or wherever LeBron James goes when the basketball stops, making the biggest decision of his life. His agent Rich Paul told reporters this week that he is not going to pressure LeBron into saying anything until LeBron is ready to say it. A source close to the situation was quoted saying that LeBron wants to compete for a championship and that he understands the Lakers are building for the future, but that what matters most to him is a realistic shot at winning it all. One more ring. That fifth championship that would remove every remaining asterisk from the GOAT debate. And somewhere in a broadcast studio, Shaquille O'Neal is still sitting at that desk, still doing his analysis, still being the loudest voice in the room. The question the NBA world is asking right now is not just where LeBron plays next. The question is whether LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal can ever fix what broke between them. Because in the world of the NBA, beefs do not just fade away. Legacies do not get written in single moments, but moments like these, a security guard stepping between two giants, a live camera catching something nobody was supposed to see. Those moments define the final chapters. LeBron James spent 23 years refusing to let anyone else write his story. He is not going to stop fighting for that right now. Whatever comes next, Golden State, Cleveland, a minimum contract in Los Angeles, or a retirement announcement that shakes the sports world, know this: the king is not finished. He is just deciding how the ending gets written. And nobody, not Shaquille O'Neal, not Stephen A. Smith, not any analyst behind any desk anywhere in America, is going to take that pen out of his hand.